Do you believe in angels? Most of you probably will nod their head or say yes, but do you really know about the angels? Many of us have felt their presence and we may have read or heard a lot about them, and we really want to believe in them, but we may not really know who they are, why are they here, and how to make contact with them. So that's what I would like to talk about today. Angels. First of all, who are they? It depends a lot on which tradition you are checking in with. Interestingly, angels appear in really all the major world religions and even in many of the lesser known ones. But their definition, their names, and their function may differ greatly from one tradition to the other. Without getting too scholarly here, I just want to tell you they can be found in all the Abrahamic traditions, so Judaism, Islam, Christianity, of course, but in some form or other, they are also mentioned in Hinduism, Buddhism, and other religions, notably the religion of Zoroastrianism, which comes from ancient Persia and actually influenced greatly later became the Hebrew Bible and the beliefs. So let's talk a little bit about, without going into all the hierarchies, because one thing I can tell you is depending where you look and what you read on and what the source of your information is, there may be such a multitude of information, it can almost be overwhelming. So I want to stress just the personal contact with angels, and that's what we want to focus on today. So let's just assume for now that angels were created by God in the very early stages of creation, which of course is a religious concept, not a scientific one. But angels are a little harder to prove scientifically. They are seen more with the heart than with the mind. So, one thing that is really important to know is that they are real, even if most of the time you can't see them. So, please don't expect an angel to show up full regalia, wings, halo, and all at your doorstep and offering you the winning lottery ticket. Most likely that's not going to happen. But angels, I always feel like they like to stay anonymous. They work behind the scenes, but they're always there, and you must ask for them to show up in your life. Because this is an interesting concept. You've heard that probably, the idea of free will, or also the cosmic law of non interference. And what that really means is that they are not allowed to interfere in any shape or form in our lives. But when you ask them for help and support, then they're empowered to show up. So that's the first principle that I want to bring home to you. Ask them. And the way to ask them is best with a very joyful heart, with feeling, with emotion, because that draws them in too. And of course, there are times when we're not feeling so joyful, and when maybe we call out in despair for the angels to show up. And that's a strong emotion as well. I remember after my divorce long, long ago, I was, of course, deeply upset and disturbed. And there was a song, I think by Sarah McLaughlin, and it's Calling on the Angels. And I would play that in endless loop and sang along with it until I really felt a shift in my energy. So sing to them, call on them, invite them into your life for support and assistance. So, how do angels talk with us? That's an interesting point because we just said, well, they're really don't show up in 3D, with a few exceptions. And we have to train ourselves to perceive them and think of it as building a relationship, a friendship. So at first you get to know each other, and then little by little you deepen that connection, and all of a sudden you are friends. So give it some time and be consistent and trust that they're there for you. And how will they talk to you? Let's talk about a few of the possible ways. First of all, when you're out in nature, look out for feathers showing up, bird feathers, especially white feathers. They are almost always a sign that the angels are wishing to convey a message to you. I remember a time when I was at a spiritual retreat um, here in North County, San Diego, and we all were taking a meditative walk as part of the retreat. And all of a sudden, something caught my eye, and as I looked down, I saw this beautiful, perfect owl feather. I picked it up, and somehow I knew I was going to pass it on. The seminar leader, a lovely lady, she had actually just lost her sister and was still very sad about that loss. I passed on this owl feather to Mary, and Mary just had tears bursting forth because, see, she had at that time, that moment, been intensely thinking about her sister, and her sister was an owl collector. And she had owls in all shapes and forms. And so this owl feather was an unmistakable sign for Mary that her sister was around and somehow partaking in this retreat. So, other ways that angels talk with you are numbers. Have you ever repeatedly came across certain number sequences? A very famous one is 1111. There's also 1212, and any possible combination. Some people say 333 is a very remarkable numbers combination that's meaningful to them. And the key here is what is meaningful to you. So, and only if this pops up repeatedly, not one casual glance and you say, oh, yeah, it's 444. No, but when it shows up repeatedly, then it's probably the angels telling you. But what are they telling you? Maybe they want you to pay more attention and not be so distracted. Sometimes we are so engulfed in our worldly matters that we don't pay attention to the spiritual aspect of who we are. And to me, 1111 is always a gateway number. In fact, my husband and I, Gary, we got married on 11/11 because that's new beginnings. It's inviting cosmic energy in. But I want to make sure that you understand it's about what you personally associate with the numbers. There is no really one fits all. Although in numerology, some people may have different opinions. But that's how angels often will show up. Another seemingly casual way is through license plates and even billboards. And you may discard that as a coincidence. And I tell you, there are no coincidences. it Not over interpreting, of course, but maybe in their subtle ways, they just want you to maybe look up and realize even for one breath that the angels are there. And speaking about looking up, light, of course, is one of their major ways to show up. So whether it's sudden unexpected flashes of light, or some people really focus on photography that show orbs, And while there's again different opinions on what orbs represent, but why not? Why not angels? Sometimes we may look up into the sky and see cloud formations that almost appear like angel wings. I'm sure you've seen that one time or the other. So, again, they're subtle signs, they're gentle, they're loving, and they always want you to feel good about yourself and about all the love and support you have on spirit side. I do believe that angels work through people as well. And I have many, many stories of people that came into my life in times of need. They did what was needed, and then they sort of disappeared, never to be seen again. And are they angels? I don't know. But it is said that angels can take on human form. Not typically, but there is an exchange of our realm and the angelic realm. That's not a one-way street. All right. Physical sensations are often a sure sign. When working with clients, I often get confirmation when something is really important and true. Then I get these chills all over my body. I call them my angel bumps or God bumps. And it feels like an electric current that that as if you were plugged in to something. And if you have noticed that a few times, at least I cannot make it happen. It either is there and happens or not. So all these are ways that angels may show up in your life. And just remember to ask them. And a good way to build that friendship we talked about is to keep records. So, you know how the saying goes, where attention flows, no, where attention goes, energy flows. That's it. So, in other words, the more you pay attention to these possible contacts and signs, the stronger this will get. And as you take notes and maybe have an angel journal, you will get more and more proof that they're real and they're working for you in your life. All right. So, how to make contact with them? I would say some form of invocation is a good way. Invocation is like a prayer, but you can put it in your own words. Again, your intention is key, and any words that are not filled with a lot of energy are flat. They don't do much. So put in your own words, I'm calling now on so and so to help me in the area of fill in the blanks. And always remember to thank them when you're done and thank them when something has manifested. It's very, very important to show gratitude. And in a way, I think they love to help us. And so maybe they get some satisfaction out of our gratitude. Let me share one story with you of one of the signs that really sticks out in my mind. So I was on a 3-week river trip through the Grand Canyon. Quite the adventure. And it was not a professionally guided tour. We had put it together ourselves, and it was dangerous, and a lot of tempers flared up. Anyway, one day I just needed some time away, and it was one of these rare days where the canyon had opened up enough to allow side pathways. And so I started hiking all by myself, and from the bottom of my heart, I asked God, I asked the angels to give me a sign because, as I said, the tensions had been pretty strong in the group, maybe because of the danger and all. And so I said, God, give me a sign that I'm doing the right things, that you're with me, that you protect me. Angels, step in and act as intermediary to give me that sign. And I hiked, and I really saw nothing spectacular except one spider web that was really beautifully blacklit. And when I came back on the same path, I didn't see it anymore. I thought, is this the best you can do, angels? A spider web that's backlit? And so, a little discouraged, I came back to the camp. And as I approached the river shore, I see something metallic shining there. And I'm coming closer, and I dig up a little, and there is a horseshoe in the middle of the Grand Canyon, down by the Colorado River, where really very, very few people ever get to be. There is a horseshoe. And that was so super meaningful to me because in my culture, I'm German, as you can probably hear, horseshoes are a sign of good luck. And maybe they are in other cultures as well. And so this horseshoe, and it was the only one we've ever seen during the whole trip, but that was a sign for me and good luck. And I was protected during the trip. And that was just so powerful of a communication. And I still have today, I still have that horseshoe. So let me see. What else can I tell you? Oh, let me introduce you to some of my favorite angels, just for putting some faces and names to it, because it's really interesting. In the Bible, only Michael and Gabriel are mentioned by name. And if you do some research on all the different archangels and their names, wow, you come across so many different traditions, different descriptions. It's overwhelming. So I want to encourage you to select those angels or let them come to you that you really relate to. So some of my favorites are, of course, Archangel Michael. Michael, I use I invoke him a lot in my spiritual work whenever it comes to cutting cords or removing negative energies or entities. Michael is often depicted with a sword. In fact, let me show you one of the depiction right here. So with a sword he battles demons, and in later Christianity it is said that he battled Satan successfully, of course. But Michael is really there for us to help us disconnect and detach from whatever doesn't serve us. So, next on my list is Gabriel. Gabriel is, according to the teachings that I received at Chapel of Awareness in Encinitas, Gabriel is associated with the east, the direction of the east. Michael is west, Michael is blue, Gabriel is east, and his color is said to be white. And again, in my interpretation, and I don't claim this is universally true, Gabriel brings enlightenment, awareness. In the south rules Raphael, I'm sorry, Raphael, with his bright color of green. He is the healer. And Raphael is always there with energy for restoring health, well being, and even sending healing to others. And finally, as we are in the four directions, the north is ruled by Uriel. I don't know, some people say Uriel or Uriel. His colors, according to Reverend Lar of Chapel of Awareness, are ruby red and gold. And Uriel connects us to the sacred traditions, to our ancestry as the ruler of the North. And there are three more that I personally have a connection with. And what I love to do is I see myself surrounded by the four that I just mentioned. And then, of course, there's the above and the below. So I see Sandalphon, the Archangel Sandalphon, as governing the below, connecting to the earth, connecting also to, he's said to govern music as well. But to me, it's earth and life force. Above is the Archangel Metatron. He is often called one of the highest angels, and he governs sacred geometry. You may even have heard the expression of Metatron's cube, and that is uh, a shape that contains all the platonic solids, the building blocks of the universe, the sphere, the pyramid, the cube, and so on. So one could say that sacred geometry may be with along with mathematics the language of the universe, and so it shows up in our everyday life, but that's a different chapter on sacred geometry. Finally, ruler of the heart, Hamuel, and he is pure love. By the way, I need to clarify that angels don't really have a sex. They're neither male nor female, although some angels, especially Sandalphon, seem to have more of a feminine energy. But again, there a lot of angels is really what we associate with them. All right? So those are my favorite seven, but when you look in different types of literature, you will find 13 or even more. It just depends what source you refer to. And once again, I encourage you to not get lost in too much scholarly discussions, but make friends with the angels and establish that personal contact. And of course, number one on that personal contact is your guardian angel, right? Your guardian angel has been assigned to you and only to you, and will be with you from the first breath to your last breath. And remember, again, they cannot interfere. So when bad things happen, you may ask, why did my angel not protect me from having this accident? Well, remember, they're not here to interfere. And maybe there are lessons for you in that accident that are important in your life journey. But they will help heal. I know that for sure. I want to tell you one more story of one of those very rare 3D appearances. And interestingly, this didn't happen to me, but to a friend of mine. Janice grew up in Germany in the Black Forest part of the country. And as a little girl, she loved to venture out into the forest. And one day she did just that. And she got deeper and deeper in the forest. There were lush berries everywhere, wild strawberries and raspberries and blueberries. And before she knew it, she didn't looked up and didn't know where she was. And she noticed the sun was starting to go down, and all of a sudden she got panicky. And she heard some rustling in the bushes. There were wild pigs in that area, so she got really scared. And in her despair, she called on the angels, and she grew up really, really knowing, not just believing, but knowing that angels were real. So she called on an angel to help her get home, and a bright light that then manifested into an angelic shape with wings manifested in front of her, beckoned her to follow, and that angel led her out of the forest. Why did she experience this 3D angel? I think maybe because she was a child and she was not plagued by any doubts or intellectual analysis. So it does happen, but most of the time, as I said, angels prefer to stay anonymous. But look for so-called miracles, or if miracles is a word you're not comfortable with, look for synchronicities and detect the gentle signatures of the angels. Very subtle, but unmistakably. So, I hope I have given you a bit of an introduction into the angelic kingdom. And of course, this is all, to some extent, it is my personal experience. And that's what I wanted to convey. I want to end with a little song because you know what? We can also see an angel in each other. And there was a beautiful song that was often part of the whole Being Weekend. Some of you may know that. And we sang it like this. I think a, a well known musician brought that up. I can't remember his name right now. It goes like this: Angel, angel, I see an angel. You are an angel here and now. Maybe that's not quite it. I may have mistaken the words. But when you look into somebody's eye and you sing them that little song, Angel, Angel, I see an angel, you acknowledging that divinity in each other. And even though maybe as humans we are all just waiting to earn our wings, but that's it for now. So make friends with your angels and many angelic blessings to you.